Hey, I'm Danny Miller.
And Lee Smith. We're instructors here at Blood and Iron Martial Arts. Miller, who you don't see as often, is pretty much our guru on unarmed combatives. You want to give him your credentials?
I've been doing some form of martial arts since I was 7, 8 years old. I currently hold a third-degree black belt with Sun and Go Martial Arts. I'm a force options instructor with BC Corrections. Taken courses with Police Judo at the Justice Institute of BC, and done a heck of a lot of rolling around with these guys.
So, yeah, he's one of my original training partners, but his specialty is really unarmed combatives. Good with the longsword, but when we talk about kicks, Miller has some absolutely devastating kicks, and this is what this episode is about. This is our Patreon subscribers video for kicking in HEMA. So let's talk about the safety of kicks. Like, we'll start with just safety in HEMA. Like, we discussed this long ago, and how the kick in HEMA is not really safe to be used in a sportive context.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to throw a kick at somebody, it's all blunt force trauma. You're not falling back on an edge to do some of the work for you. So anytime you're throwing something that's just blunt force trauma, you got to throw with 100% intent. If we have people throwing a kick to somebody's midsection with 100% intent, that could have some pretty disastrous results. That could end up with broken ribs, knocking the wind out of people. It's a very heavy blow is what you're going to end up with.
I know they obviously kick in MMA sports and stuff like that. How is that different in HEMA?
Well, see, you could have kicking in a tournament setting, but you'd have to tone it down. You'd have to tell the fighters, okay, we're not going to be throwing full-bore kicks to the midsection aiming to plant your partner on their butt, because again, that has a high risk of injury. So what you'd end up having is people kicking as if they were playing tag with their feet. Kind of like you see some people do with a longsword fight now, playing sword tag. They're not committing to that full shot. It's these kind of things. So I'd come to a high bind and I just kind of flick my leg out because I don't want to actually hurt the guy. I'm not throwing a martially applicable kick. I'm just playing tag with my foot. And that's kind of what you're going to end up with HEMA, if you were to allow kicks in competition setting.
So unless we were fighting to the knockout like they do in MMA.
Yeah, well, MMA is different. I mean, yeah, you're going full bore. You're trying to put the guy down. You're trying to inflict that damage. With HEMA, you're not actually trying to hurt your partner. You're trying to score the touch. And
well, it's touch. We know.
Yeah.
Touch.
A touch. Your definition of touch may be different. But yeah, at the end of the day, we both walk away. We don't go to the knockout or something like that.
And we'd laugh about our bruises over a couple drinks later, you know? Like, that's kind of the idea.
Yeah.
The protective gear protects us from, like, mostly serious injuries, right? We're kicking, especially, like, we're just talking midsection, will lead to some extremely serious injuries. If you think you're going to finish your pool fights after taking a full bore kick from this man, you might have some pretty strong abdominal muscles to do so. I don't have abdominal muscles that strong. I don't think I know anybody in HEMA who does. But then we start talking about lower kicks, where they mention in Fiore, kicks to the balls, kicks to the knee, break the knee. How easy is it to break a knee?
Yeah, I mean, people will then the conversation will shift over to, well, do kicks have a place in HEMA in general? And absolutely they do. Kicks have a place in combatives in general. I mean, there's some of the strongest muscles in your body. You'd be a fool not to use it in a realistic setting. Like Lee was saying, how easy is it to break somebody's knee if you land on it properly? It's not that hard. I've seen injuries where people just have somebody land just at the wrong angle on the knee and pops right out. It doesn't take a heck of a lot of force. So, combatively, kicks are great. You can kick them in the balls, you can kick them in the knee, you can kick them in the lower leg, you can kick them in the chest. None of that, though, translates very well to competition, where the goal, again, is to not hurt our partner.
But score a martially valid strike.
Yeah.
And realistically, too, with a longsword, you're not going to be kicking from out of measure, which we've seen people do in the past, in like HEMA 10 years ago, HEMA 5 years ago, people throwing kicks out of measure and the guy stopping with his sword, trying to avoid hitting him in the foot. Now, if you take a sword to the foot, whether it is in competition with a fader or in a sharp dual setting, you are going to have a serious problem with your foot for a very long time.
And that's just it. Just, you know, in regards to kicking in general, everybody technically knows how to kick. I mean, it's not hard. You raise your leg out and kick it out. But very few people, at least from what I've seen, know how to kick effectively. And when you would actually use it in an unarmed fight. Never mind a fight where you have a 3-foot-long razor blade in your hand. Figuring out where and when it's safe to use the kick then is a whole other ballgame. And it requires a fair amount of training.
I'd say, yeah, definitely a fair amount of training. So, like, even in free sparring here, we don't permit kicks on the floor for obvious reasons. I don't think our insurance wouldn't cover it. And number two, a hard kick in the midsection, as Miller said, could be pretty devastating. Person trips over their own ankle, breaks their ankle. Like even in the Sun Hang Do settings, what was your kick power doing free sparring?
Doing free sparring, it was always emphasized as being light. Did it always end up light? No. I've taken some pretty brutal shots to the midsection with kicks, and they were never 100% power. But you're just moving into it the right way. We're wearing a big chest protector, like a Taekwondo style chest protector, eating it through that, even at about 50 to 75% power, was enough to completely knock the wind out of me. So had I not been wearing that pad, it would have been a lot more devastating. Had it been a 100% power kick, well, the fight would have been over. The fight was practically over as it was anyway, eating a kick like that.
So, as we can see, kicks are a definitely martially effective option. Especially if you're entering a duel situation, which is completely illegal in this country and I think almost every country in the world. And if you're fighting for your life with a long sword or a whatever sword you're using, yes, kick would be a fantastic option if the opportunity arose and you trained it a lot. When I say a lot, I mean like a lot.
Yeah, it's, you know, you just have to separate what you're doing. There's street fighting, for lack of a better word, and there's competition fighting. If people are upset with the fact that you can't do a kick in a competition setting, well, there's tons of things you can't do in a competition setting. A kick is just one of them. I mean, if you're going to argue that we should be able to kick, then you could also argue that, you know, when you come to a high bind, you should be able to grab the guy's sword down and grab the back of his head and start pounding with your fist. I mean, why not? You can kick.
Break his arm?
Yeah, throw him into an armbar, crack his arm on the way down. Why not? Those are all martially valid things to do in a fight.
And they're in the manuscripts, showing joint locks and joint manipulations. So, like, I guess we could do those things too.
Yeah.
However,
I'd actually be game for that. That sounds fun. But certainly we gotta put on the brakes somewhere. We gotta have a line somewhere where we end up drawing the line. So.
I certainly wouldn't be game for that against Sean Franklin.
No, I would.
You might. You're also crazy that way.
Yeah, but Sean and I have a special relationship.
Not against Briston.
No.
Nope. I'll put big nope on the Briston Lowry.
I'll draw the line of Briston Lowry.
That's just like, yep.
I know my limits.
Anyway, this has been our episode on kicking. Thank you, Miller, for showing up and helping us out with this.
Thank you.